What's up, everyone? It's Alicia, joined by my amazing, lovely, fantastic co-host, Tori Kravitz, and welcome back to She's with the Band. Tori, hello, my friend.
Hello. I love that every time you start the episode, you introduce me with like the most flattering adjectives ever. It's always the amazing, the incredible, the fabulous. I'm like, yes, keep going. Actually, just keep introducing the episode for the entire episode.
That should just be the entire thing. And I wanted to continue doing it to see if you would ever mention or catch on, because I know how much we love a good thesaurus and thesaurus.com. So I'm like, let's see how many times we can just reinvent these words.
No, seriously, I've definitely caught on. Don't you worry, I've noticed and I appreciate it. Yeah.
We wouldn't be
Next time,
Alicia if you didn't pick up on it.
Maybe like the next episode I'll be like the quintessential Alicia too. Just like
I would hope I'm the quintessential.
Yes, you are the quintessential.
Can you imagine if there were just a bunch
too.
of other doubles, like other Alicia Toots out there, and I'm not the quintessential one? That's terrifying.
I'd rather not think about that. That sounds like a dystopian universe of like
It's
a million
movie. It has to be a
of
movie.
ourselves. I mean, I'd definitely watch because I enjoy watching you. So I'd watch if there were 50 of you in a movie.
Well, thank you. That's absolutely flattering.
What's going on? Tori here, interrupting with a quick word from our sponsor. As a huge fan of nu metal, I must ask the question, what if nu metal finally had its own DJ night? Well, Sugar, the nu metal party, is coming to a city near you. So this one is for all the pimps, the freaks, and the maggots that are dreaming to celebrate the golden age of nu metal. So let's shove it, shove it, shove it to the music from the likes of Korn, Deftones, Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, System of a Down, Kitty, Rob Zombie, Static X, Linkin Park. The list goes on and on. The playlist is stacked. So join us in the pit as we party in the name of the original Family Values Tour era and those who are carrying the torches. You can visit thenumetalparty.com for more information and tour dates.
How are you? What's new? What's going on this week?
Dude, it's a good week. At the time we're recording this, there's so many new releases coming out today. I don't know if you've been keeping up, but it is mayhem. So I'm dying to know what you've been listening to today at the moment.
Well, I don't mean to be too obvious. I know we have the same brain, so you might be thinking the same, but the new Paramore record has dropped. This Is Why. Of course, that lead single we've been spinning for the last couple of months, maybe a month and a half, and it's just so good. So being able to actually dive into the whole album and see what else they are bringing to the table, it's so fun. And I feel like they're really to the point where they feel like they don't have to stick to a sound or a genre or do what they've been known for doing for however long they've been together. So it's really cool. It's very different and unique sound for them, but I'm digging it. And I can't wait to listen to it more because I've only heard maybe 5 or 6 songs so far.
Yeah, no, you did in fact read my brain. So I was also thinking about the Paramore album I wanted to mention. It was so funny. I have a little anecdote for this as well. So there's one song, I'm still like learning the track list. So pardon me that I can't remember which song, but like when you listen to it, I want to say it's like track 4 or 5. It's somewhere in that realm. But there's a line right at the start of the song that says like, basically going to the chiropractor is your like social, like it's your social life, like something along those lines. And I was driving home from the chiropractor when I like heard that line for the first time. I was literally had just left the chiropractor's office today.
Oh,
and
that's
then
so
it was like
funny.
the chiropractor is my social life, and I was like, that's unfortunate because it is my only human interaction today, aside from you.
Aside from this, which is virtual, so I kind of love that. The song really spoke true to you.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Paramore, when they posted like today about the album announcement and the album release, it was like, if you've been experiencing these things, if you relate to these things, then this album's for you. And I'm like, this speaks to every millennial ever.
This album's to us. Yes, please.
Yes. And plus, like every other guest on this show says they want to work with Hayley Williams. So it does feel appropriate to give Paramore a shout out.
Dude, I finally ordered my Good Die Young Riot color. So within a couple of weeks' time, I'm hoping to go from this to like OG Hayley Williams orange. I'm so excited.
Oh, I can't wait to see. It's gonna be so good. I had my orange hair phase and I loved every second of it. So it's your turn. Let it shine.
I'm excited. And for like everyone listening and watching too, this is something that Tori's probably so sick of hearing about because I feel like every week, like, dude, I'm dyeing my hair orange. I can't wait. I'm finally gonna do it. So yeah, sorry, but I'm excited.
Hey, you have my full support. I'm not sick of it. And every time you mention it, I will continue to hype you up. That's just how it goes.
I love that. Oh man.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of hyping up, we both are so looking forward to today's guest. It is like, she is such a legend, somebody that since being a fan of Warped Tour, I've known of her and known of the incredible work she's done. It is none other than the legendary Melissa Cross, vocal coach for basically every incredible metal vocalist you know.
And we're not just kind of fluffing the piece up here. It's true. She has been the coach for everyone from Slipknot, Megadeth, Code Orange, Coheed and Cambria, Cradle of Filth, Hailstorm, and Kevin Bacon, my friend. So like the repertoire is insane. And I was looking at her client list the other day, just going into this conversation, and I had to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling because over the years she's worked with everyone. It's like a Courtney Love, like it's a who's who of everybody. It's amazing.
I will say Maroon 5 was the one that caught me off guard because I I knew she had worked with like Lorna Shore. I knew she had worked with Spirit Box and Arch Enemy, like incredible names. And then I was like, Maroon 5. But lo and behold, she's done it all. And I'm just, it is so like such an honor to be able to talk to her today. And one thing I do want to shout out as well, we'll mention it in the interview as well, but she does have a website, melissacross.com. So if you're interested in learning how to scream or learning metal vocals or even just learning how to sing, she has like a ton of resources on there, as well as if you want to see the crazy client list for yourself, that's also on the website.
It's wild. It's going to take you probably half an hour to get through, but you'll just be gobsmacked the whole time and in awe. So it's kind of awesome at the same time, but it's insane because I was looking through that list and so many of my favorite bands she's actually trained, and I can't wait to ask her about working with certain people and just that legendary status she's kind of achieved in terms of being that coach, you know? So yeah, this is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a lot.
I know. As we speak, I'm getting more and more nervous by the second, which I know I shouldn't be because having watched some previous interviews with her already, she seems also so personable and so much fun. And you know, those people where they speak about what they do and you just become passionate about what they do just because it's so contagious. She seems like that kind of person. So I guess we're about to find out, aren't we?
Let's just get to this. Let's go.
Let's
Melissa
bring her
Cross,
on.
everyone.
And we are joined now by legendary vocal coach, Melissa Cross. How are you, Melissa?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, of course. I know you do a lot of your training from home. Like you've been working with a lot of clients over the last few weeks, and I mean, always. So what has been your day like so far? What have you been up to?
Teaching and more teaching and more teaching.
It never stops.
It never stops. This is the end of the road, though. This interview is the end. I can eat then.
Yeah, that's what
are
we're
you
all
having?
Actually looking forward to.
We're all excited for some food.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to keep it really simple, like, you know, a sandwich or a hamburger or something like that. I don't want to like blow it out today.
And plus, at the end of the week, it's like just get the food on the plate and get it done.
Yeah, something easy, something simple, not to, you know, kind of avoid the takeout thing because it's, you know, it gets expensive after a while. You know.
Too.
I do love how you said I don't want to bloat out today, meaning that there are certain days where you're totally willing to take that risk because I feel you.
Yeah, exactly. No, like tomorrow I'll probably bloat out and order like, you know, takeout with dessert and the whole thing. But today I'm going to chill.
Balance.
Treat yourself. I mean, considering you're like the most in high demand vocal coach in the metal scene, I think you deserve a little treat here and there. You know, you are a busy woman.
Thank you. Thank you. My biggest treat is when somebody like notices that they're not coughing blood anymore, though. There's nothing better than that.
I can imagine.
I mean, I think that's the thing is like when you hear these kind of really insane vocals, like these really wild growls and screams, that's the first thing you think is like, how on earth are they not hurting themselves? And the reality is like you are a big secret behind why they aren't coughing up blood anymore. So I know Alicia and I were both wondering, like, for somebody who's like, I want to start screaming, what on earth do I do? What is like the biggest no-no? Like if you're going to start, just skip this right off the bat. Don't do this.
Okay, so everybody does it, and this is what they shouldn't do. They rely on the emotional aspect or the emotional definition of the sound of that. So when they want to make that sound, they go and they trance into the deep dissatisfaction, rage, whatever it is, to produce the sound. And it's that aspect of it, that emotional quotient that puts it out of control, and it causes overuse. It's like anytime you're in a rage, it's like over the top. So anything that's over the top that you do every day for 25 out of 30 days a month is going to have a toll. So I have to reorganize that into a sound effect that doesn't necessarily mean rage. I mean, we get real abstract and then we put the meaning back into it. But first of all, I have to get rid of that habit of like getting angry, like the band Slipknot, the band, you've heard of them, right?
Yeah. We're familiar, I think.
They allegedly, like, this could be like bullshit, but I knowing them, I probably think it's not bullshit. They used to have like a big powwow at the beginning of a show where everybody would sort of like cough and vomit and like, bleh, and bleh. It was like a rite of passage. Like we're going all out, and like coughing blood is part of it. And it took a few years to sort of get over that aspect. Like, and when I first started, there were a bunch of people that, you know, would go on interviews. Like I know like a guy from Biohazard said, "Oh, that's bullshit. You don't need to learn how to do this. You just fucking do it." Okay, that's for you. But there's a lot of people that I saw a lot of people dropping like flies, you know, and I saw some people get away with it and some people did not. Usually the tenors, the higher voices, those are the ones that got really banged up the quickest.
There's something I really is so clever about you. So you're most known for Zen of Screaming. And this, what you've just said about take the emotion out, just like, let's be rational for a second, it so ties into how the name Zen of Screaming came about, because you've said that being present and almost being in like a meditative state is the most effective way to bring emotion to a performance without that like overexertion, right? Don't correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
That's what I remember reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear more about how that works.
Yeah, that's a really intelligent paraphrase that I think I might steal from you, actually.
Way to go, Tori.
I hope you don't mind if I like steal your paraphrase. Being present is, you know, this voice stuff is really, some people say that I use voice as an excuse to teach life. Because, you know, interestingly enough, it's kind of therapeutic. Like once I realized that the pain, the emotional pain that I would have was almost a physical sensation. It was almost something where instead of being the reality and it's in my pores and it's everywhere, it became like, okay, so where does it hurt physically? And I sort of felt like emotional pain right here. And it felt like something stabbing me right here. So whenever I would get sad, I would feel that feeling and be able to go, oh, there's that thing again. Like it wasn't reality coming to revisit. It was just another feeling. And I go, oh, here's that thing again. And once I called it that thing, it was separate from me. It wasn't, it's actually not separate. It was me choosing that, but it wasn't a package deal where that pain had any more rooting in the truth, because it was just a feeling of, oh, that thing. Because when I said that's that thing, then that thing is not there all the time. So it must come and go. But when I used to get really sad, it felt like I'd always been sad and I was always going to be sad. So I know this is kind of a far away from the voice, but when you are able, when you're able to identify, to separate something like that and to look at it from the balcony, you know, like sort of like a bird's eye view of it, you can have a lot more control. I mean, it's actually, it's kind of a surrender as opposed to like controlling it, right? But it's more like, instead of like allowing that sound to have all the meaning to that sound and just take the sound for what it is, then the disassociation from all that extra over the top stuff separates. So that separation is like the important first step is to, most people, when they sing or scream, they're doing it and they're channeling something they've heard before. Like they're not in their own body. They're channeling Corey Taylor, or they're channeling like, Dan from Architects, or, like whatever their favorite, hero is. They would channel the spirit of that and be out of control with their body. They're all in their mind, and they're doing what they think that artist is doing. They're imitating it. And when you imitate, there's no control over the voice. There's no control because you're imitating something that is in a memory. There's no way to do it. You cannot control your voice like that. So first of all, we have to get rid of all the associations, right? And then on top of that, we have to put in how to feel your voice and not listen to your voice, meaning don't judge your voice. Meaning, like when people listen to themselves scream, right? They're not inside of the sound. They're inside of their memory of what they think they want to sound like, or they're not in their body. So learning how to operate from these feelings and images that you have that are yours and spontaneous is the first step. And it's actually quite scientific. I'll tell you why. Because when I teach, there's different ways of making the sound that we know as screaming. You could do it by, doing somewhat of a throw up, that thing, but you can also like do a different kind of it's actually much louder, but it's not louder in decibels. It's louder to the audience because it has higher overtones or higher frequencies. So there's another thing about human hearing that a lot of people don't know. And that is that our hearing is far more sensitive to higher frequencies. So if you have this whole set of going, first of all, the band practically buries it because that's the frequency spectrum that bass and drums live in, is that lower thing. So whenever you hear like a screamer that's like stays on the low growl kind of place, oftentimes when they doing a verse, it sounds like somebody forgot the solo. Like you can't hear it from the stage.
Very true.
Especially, yeah, like you go like, well, who's singing? Like, because you can occasionally hear like, oh, boo, boo. But usually that's right. That's competing with like the band. So you can't really hear it. But if you have somebody going, yeah, like with even like that low, raw, but with a raw, when it has that, that thing with it, you can hear it. And not only can you hear it, it doesn't have to be loud because that frequency delivers loud to human beings, like sirens or police cars or ambulances. It's that high thing that people go, oh, I got to watch out. Something's coming, right? So that is something that you don't create with road rage. Road rage will keep you right? But affecting that higher frequency is a skill that involves detaching from all the inferences of the sound.
I feel like we just got a master class right there.
I've been blown.
No, okay, so I was so excited to have you on the show because I was just such a massive emo kid growing up, and I mean that will still forever live through and through with me. And I remember sitting on my bed when I was 8 years old. I had just heard "Taken Away by the Used," and I just tried to scream like Burt McCracken so badly, and "You're Taking Back Sundays," and I was so young and I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to sound like the dudes I loved, And it's so funny because of course you're very familiar with both of these acts, and I wasn't able to talk for like 3 days after doing this. And I just thought, oh, it's an easy act. These guys are just screaming. It's so simple. It's not. And I learned that lesson very, very quickly.
Well, that's why when people come, the first thing that we do is not start screaming, because screaming is something that the voice can do, but the voice doesn't have to execute what the inference or the emotional thing. That's not part of making the sound. So the first thing I have to do is separate that that when you throw up and you go right, that sound comes from your throat like running into the epiglottis that like covers up your windpipe when you eat and covers up your airway. I mean, covers up your airway when you eat and then covers up your food thing when you breathe, right? So it's this little flap that goes. And so if I go, there's a collision with that thing and it makes this that sound, right? That sound does not have a lot of high frequencies in it. But if I go, right, that's a whole different mechanism. So I have to get people to understand.
I want to do that every time you do it. I just get this like irk inside my body where I'm like you just want to go for it, right?
Okay, well, I can teach you right now. Okay, I can teach you right now. So you're getting a free lesson, right?
Let's go, Alicia.
Let's do this. Okay.
But if I teach you this, don't go out and like do a show on it because there's more stuff you have to learn besides how to make the sound, right? But because there's all kinds of, I believe that what differs me from a lot of other teachers is that I understand the science and the physiology, but I also understand the only language that the voice can use to understand it, because our voices are put in us to communicate. So if I go, oh my God, I don't choreograph, I mean something, and it comes out just the way I mean it. So in order to control your voice, you have to put something in the place where you mean things. That's your imagination. That's your imaging, right? So if I mean something, I know exactly what I'm referring to, and it takes over my voice. The voice doesn't have any neural steering wheels that I could say, all right, close your vocal folds at the top, but not the bottom. Like there's nothing there. But I can ask you to make the sound of a cat. So do this. Meow, 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 meow. Okay, cool. Now I want you to, I want the cat to get like old and creaky. So the cat goes going, meow. It goes, meow,
Meow.
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 Yes.
It's so difficult.
You hear that? You hear that?
Yeah.
You hear that? That sounds really loud on this microphone, but it's not that loud. My speaking is actually louder than but over the mic, it sounds huge. I didn't even put any energy into it all. But if I go, or a different vowel besides like O will make it low. So a lot of people think their low screams are like low and their high screams are like hee, but it's not like that at all.
Wow.
They have these ideas. So anyway, back to the lesson, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to go, yeah, like creaky, like meow.
All right. I don't even know where to start. First, let me do my
Oh, start with the meow.
meow. Meow.
Now make that same note, go meow, meow. Make it creaky, but yeah.
It's
now try to get the voice.
Meow.
Yeah.
Nope.
That was better than me.
Okay. Okay. So what happens is that you start to listen to your voice trying to do it. And this is where the catch-22 is, because I will take you to all these exercises to actually feel a certain way in order to do this. Beep, beep, beep. Ooh, Alicia, you could sing, girl.
Thank you.
She can sing very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. This should be pretty. Yeah.
I'm flattered now.
What you did. No. I know. I can hear by the way someone does like, beep, I know, like, oh, okay. So when you did that, both of you, what I'd like you to is put your hands above your top lip like this. Okay. Now I want you to go, yee, like you're in a kicker bar. Yes. Right. So we used to call that, like some people still do, unfortunately, head voice, right? Head voice, and chest voice is, and head voice is, right? So let's do the head voice one again. Now keep your hands there and go, Right. So that one feels like it came from underneath your hands.
Yeah.
And the first one felt like it came from above your hands. So usually I use a pen or a pencil in somebody's teeth and say above the pencil. So already I'm orienting you to a feeling, not a sound. Because when I go, yee, I feel it coming out above the pencil or my hands. And that's a feeling. That's not a sound. That's a feeling. And I reinforce that feeling. When I asked you to go, meow, I asked you to do it in that voice, that voice, not meow. I said meow, which is a thinner vocal fold. Okay, this is a deep dive. If I go into that, that's gonna. But those when I go, that's a lot of muscle mass. I'm going, like in fact, do this. Right. So that sounds like a low note, but you're not making that note. You're not making that note. That note is coming from it's a resonance in your vocal tract. You know, like when you blow over a bottle and you go, and it makes that sound like someone's making a, oh, but it's not. You're not making the note. It's the sound that happens when you're blowing across that shape of the bottle with some water in it, right? So it's called a resonance. So when you have that O vowel, oh, that is a much darker resonance than E. Do this. E. Look at that vibrato, man. You could sing, girl. Okay. So I bet I have to.
Thank you.
In fact, if I took you as a student, I bet I might have some problem getting rid of that vibrato sometimes, right?
Oh, really?
Well, when you sing a song, do you have a thing in your head? Should I sing it like Broadway or should I sing it like Courtney Love? Do you have
Not
that?
at all. I kind of will just, whatever comes out, I let go.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I wish all of my students were like you.
Oh, you have no idea how much this means hearing this from you, because yes, this is as legit as it gets, so we appreciate it.
Dude, Alicia, you're about to open the next Not Fest Roadshow. I mean, not putting any rumors out there, but you're almost there.
Baby steps, okay? Baby steps. Next thing you know, I'm going to be hitting Melissa up right after this. Oh my.
Yes, I got a new client now.
Well, everyone, if you would like some more, melissacross.com is the place to be.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Yes, but you got to be willing to do the deep dive, because it's like screaming is not a party trick. You know, it doesn't work. You can't do it over and over and over and over every night for months if you don't understand how to stop listening and stop associating with, you know, what you think it's supposed to sound like, because it's completely like not what it seems.
Mhm.
You know, like for instance, people think I got to work on my high screams. Okay. And they think high screams are like high notes, like up there. There's nothing up there and there's nothing down there. Notes do not have geographical locations. But when people think high note, because of that word high, they think, hey, like reach, right? And that's exactly the way not to get it. Because when you go, that shortens the vocal tract and you don't have those resonances. So I have to reassociate everybody's idea. It's deep.
It's a lot of work to even get to the point where someone actually speaks. Like it's very psychological.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, which is why, you know, I got expensive, you know, because I teach so many people that, you know, everybody wants to go to the person that so-and-so, you know, like as if I had anything to do with the talent, because the talent that I'm able to work with is so amazing talent. Like sometimes my work is not that hard, but I forgot why I was saying that. Oh shoot, I lost my train of thought.
If we had $1 for every time that happens to us, it's okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
Well, we were talking about how it's psychological. Like how it's psychological.
Oh, yes. Right. So I got expensive. So I made these classes because I remember when I was really young and I wanted to like, you know, study with like the best. I couldn't afford that. However, right, I made these classes. That's everything I know. It's 13 hours. And it's an interactive thing. So when you come to class, you get to work with me in front of everybody else. It's very therapeutic because when you're watching somebody else do it and me correct them, you go, oh, and then it makes sense when you're watching somebody else. So it's actually even better than a private lesson, because private lessons, I have to talk about, how's your mom and how's your dog and, blah, 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 blah. It's not like, oh, I got sick and I used to do this and blah, blah, blah. But this is like bang, 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 13 hours of technique, and it's recorded, and it is literally 1,000% cheaper than private lessons, right? It's something like $37 an hour, but you have to come to the whole thing. And it starts with speaking. I start with the way you speak, because if I can get you to speak with those ideas of above the pencil, if I can get you to speak above the pencil, for instance, I'm going to put my hands here and I'm going to right now I'm speaking above the pencil. Good morning. My name is Melissa. Now I'm going to switch to below the pencil. And now I'm doing something like this. Now that's not wrong, but this is a lot more tiring. And this one is actually a lot more pleasant to listen to. It's easier. It's not loud and brassy. It's rounder. So it has more resonance on the top. So you don't have to push so hard. So I get you to understand that feeling in the spoken word. So then by the time we get to the singing, right, you're already there. It's like a piece of cake. So it's a deep dive, man.
There's a reason you're the best of the best. I'll tell you what.
This is fascinating.
It is. Something actually, since you're talking about how you start with speaking, something I've always wondered, someone who can sing, can they scream, and vice versa? Is it like Absolutely. A mutual, it is like same kind of skill then?
Well, I think that everybody can scream. And the singing part has some other challenges like ear training. So if you've had a lot of music when you were younger and you kind of got initiated when you were at a young age, music is kind of intuitive, but people who were not exposed at a young age have a little bit of a leap to take in terms of how to match pitch. And because of those registers that thing I told you about above the pencil, below the pencil, that's why pitch can be really tricky. Let me show you something that'll blow your mind. So if I do this above the pencil, right? If I do this, if I go, okay, that's the same note. It's the same note.
Man. There's so much to learn, isn't there?
See, it's the same note. And so people think is high note, but it's not a high note. It's me doing that shape on that note, right? If I go, that's more vocal fold press. It's more muscle into it. So how to sing authentically is to understand your voice. So I can go, hear that little, even with Fry, you can go back and forth without changing your shoes.
Wow. It's incredible.
The deep dive.
It is. I feel like we could go on forever. There's just so much to learn. So yeah. Now I want to be a screamer. I'm ditching the podcast. Everybody's starting a band.
I feel so inspired right now. It's
okay, so I'm gonna put you both in my class.
Let's go.
Please.
Yep. I'm gonna put you both in my class. Okay. Woo! All right. So that's a done deal. It's in March.
Deal.
Amazing.
Deal.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, something.
So now you want to gossip, right?
Yeah, let's gossip. Let's get into it.
Oh no, I'm ready, because of course we've mentioned a bunch of people who are on your client list, and Tori and I were talking before bringing you on about how it took me 20 minutes to scroll through all the names that you have worked with over time. We're talking giants of music: Courtney Love, Greta Van Fleet, Machine Gun Kelly, Megadeth, all different genres, all different incredible scopes of talent. It's the who's who. So I'd love to know, who are some of those those clients who landed in your inbox and you internally were actually really thrilled about working with? Because I can tell you're passionate about whomever your student might be, but who have been some of those key people where you're just like, wow, this is happening and this is kind of neat for me?
It's always been neat. Like I'm always just overwhelmed with gratitude that the people that I admire so much actually have anything to listen to from me. I'm super humble, but I'm humbled by their talent. And I would say that, those moments where like, okay, I have arrived is when I got the call from Corey Taylor. Like, I think that was in 2007 or something. Before that, I'd gotten, Lamb of God. I mean, okay, so here's the story. When it started, it was a friend of mine from school that was having trouble getting these kids through a recording session in his basement. This is 1999. Right? And I just become aware of metal because I knew, Pantera and I knew Metallica and all that, but there was this thing happening in Connecticut and on the Boston and New York hardcore and stuff that was like different from, like, I was in a punk band in the 70s. So, but this was not that. Like, that was just like, you may scream, that wasn't like, shut up. Like, it wasn't that. We weren't doing that. In fact, even in classic rock, that usually that sound has music in it, like, hey, right? Not, yeah, wasn't just the screaming. So I just become, introduced to that. And I saw a bunch of people moshing from the balcony. I was like, oh man, this is just like the 60s. Like, this is why I got into music, because of this solidarity with these rebellious people. Like, this is the shit. This is it. And I'm like, oh God, I can't do this because I'd be a poser. I'm like way too old. I'm like 25, 30 years older than these people. But I want to be a part of it because this is so important. And then that's when I got the call about helping this. I had just been to a Slayer Megadeth concert. I think it was False Prophets, or maybe it was Bad Brains. I don't know, but it was legendary. And I saw this from the balcony. And then 2 weeks later, I got the call. And then 4 years later, but when I got that call, the metal scene was really small compared to what it is now. And everybody knew everybody. So the first person that was supposed to come was Jamie Josta. But Jamie Josta never showed up. He canceled a bunch of times, and I don't mind. I'm fine with it. I don't have a bone to pick about it. But Jamie told everybody that he intended to come. And so while I was waiting for Jamie to show up, like Brian from Shadows Fall and Byron from God Forbid and Randy. Oh no, it was Jesse from Killswitch. He was the first one. Jesse from Killswitch Engage was the first one, right? But everybody came while Jamie was thinking about it. And then everybody knew about it. And then I had too many people to teach. And that's when I put out this DVD as like a public service thing. I wasn't trying to be cool. I was just trying to get the message out because I believed in the genre, really, truly.
It's so funny. I do PR for some bands and stuff, and I had told a metalcore band that I work with that I was interviewing you, and he goes, I have every volume of Zen of Screaming. She's the reason I can scream. And I can only imagine how many people have that DVD and are like, Zen of Screaming is my Bible,
Yeah, that's, I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea that it was going to be that successful, and it still sells. That DVD was made in 2004, and basically the information is the same.
Yeah,
it's just that the classes, I'm better at it now.
Something I really picked up on that you said as well was how you were at that metal show and you were like, this is home. And I know that you had said in another interview that ultimately you're a hippie at heart, and that mindset transfers even into this heavier music. And I think that's something that we
Yes.
all can agree is like metal is one of the few genres that hasn't been touched by the corporate machine, and it's maintained its heart. And so I'd love to hear your insight as somebody who works hand in hand with these artists of how you think it's remained safe from the industry crap that other genres have experienced.
By definition, it does. I'll give you an example. I taught or still teach an 11-year-old girl named Harper from the UK. And Harper is a screamer, and she got
AGT.
booked on. Yes, right.
Yes,
And
she's amazing.
Right. So
Wow.
Harper was my client before that happened. So once it got to AGT, I realized that if this takes off in AGT, it's not metal anymore. It becomes
Wow.
like a novelty. It becomes like a commercialized thing. Like rock, by definition, has always been rebellion. It's always been underground. And as soon as it becomes monetized to the point where people have to make compromises in order to maintain the money and make just artistic decisions based on acceptability to the fan base and stuff like that, then it gets a little tricky. There's nothing wrong with commercial music. There's nothing wrong with it. But thank goodness the taste of the public demands authenticity now. It demands it. You can't go and sing at anybody anymore. You can't go, wee, wee, because everyone goes, they want to see like the guts. They want to see the real version. They want to see what's in your eyes, that something behind the eyes is authentic, not dressed up. So I realized that it was good that Harper did not carry forth, right? Because it was a novelty that this 11-year-old girl is screaming, just like it's a novelty that this 60 something plus soccer mom is teaching screaming. It's not really about being cool and being a part of a herd of sheep. It's about having deep respect for the metal community. Metal is an attitude. It's not just a genre of music. It is an attitude of taking care of each other and doing the right thing. That's basically what we did in the 60s. And people laughed at us and we were young and we were innocent, and we believed that if everybody just did sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that the whole world would be a beautiful place. And well, that didn't really happen because people are ugly, right? So I was 13 when that happened. So I was right at the age where I believed in this. This was my life. Those musicians that was the backdrop of my whole life. And I still retain that peace, no war, no stealing, no manipulating, no, barbaric, predator stuff. It's all like, take care of each other, do the right thing, be nice, be kind, share, all of those things. That's what the music meant. And then it all got messed up because all the money came in, all the money, and it became like a thing. So metal to me is an attitude. It's an attitude. I mean, like the Metropolitan Opera is very metal to me.
I love that.
Awesome.
That's great. No, it's so true. And Tori and I have actually had this discussion a few times because coming into metal, especially me, a lot of the time I'm someone who dresses like I'm from the 60s and 70s. So a lot of people are like, you can't talk metal, you can't talk about this. I'm like, my favorite bands are metal along with those classics. So how can you tell me who I am or what I am? And it's brought up very frequently with our other guests. So I think just saying blatantly like metal is an attitude is such a great point blank way to put it, but there's so much depth behind it too.
And you can always notice a metal kid. You may not know whether they're from Singapore or they're from, Korea, Taiwan. I'm not being racist, but you may not know what country they're from, but you know whether they're metal or not because you can tell not only by the way they dress, but also the way they talk. Mm-hmm. And the music, right? It's just the way their demeanor. It's a place for misfits. That's what it is. Like rock and roll is a place for the misunderstood and the disenchanted. and the left behind, like me.
Like us.
And us.
Like,
It's so spot on though. Like even something as simple as like the visual representation of a mosh pit, which to an outsider looks so violent and so chaotic. But when you're in it, you realize everyone's looking out for each other. Someone falls, they get picked up. And that's what metal is. But to the people who don't know, it looks like something else. And it's the way you describe that is so beautiful and amazing. And, you know, even before in the introduction for this interview that Alicia and I had, we talked about how you are so passionate. And as soon as you start speaking, that passion is so infectious. And I feel like that conversation just like revitalized my love for metal. That it's always there, but you know, it's an appreciation, isn't it?
It's all, I really appreciate you saying that. And it's also a place of solidarity. It's also a place to find, to give assistance, to help other people. And, you know, I have a great deal of admiration for Corey Taylor. Ever since I met him for the first time, not only is he like a genius, like his mind is like really, really amazing, sharp, but he's been through so much in his life, in his early life, that somehow he made something good out of that angst. He made something really good. Everybody that's in the metal scene made something good out of the rage of the disenchantment and the resentment, right? They made something beautiful, a home. It's like beautiful. It's not pretty, but it's so real and it's so beautiful and we cherish it. And it's a club. That place that gave me a home, I'm passionate because I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful I didn't have to go through my life being an outsider.
Fully. I think you're preaching to the choir here. We've all felt that. Yeah. You know, having seen as much of the metal scene as you have over decades, I'd love to get your insight as well. You know, obviously this podcast is about empowering women and just in general, I'd love to understand how you think the culture around metal has changed from like 20, 30 years ago to now in terms of like women's equality, empowering each other, and just the safe spaces of festivals and all of it.
You know, I think that, you know, the metal community was the first one to cast off ideas about women. In other words, in the wonderful 80s, the wonderful 80s, right? I believe that the music kind of suffered because the drug of choice was cocaine. Right. So everything was outrageous. Like it was just bad. Not everything, but you know, it just went the drugs but there was also this misogyny that was so inherent. And there's a little bit of that left amongst some of the older gentlemen. Just saying, some dogs can't learn new tricks, right? So I call those people crackers. So like you go to a show at Cracker and, you know, you're likely to sit down at a table. I come by myself, you know, I sit down at a table and, you know, there's someone with white beater t-shirt on going, hey, you want a drink, lady? You know, like, yeah, come over here and sit over here with you know, like, ugh. Like that.
I know that man. Yeah. We've all experienced that once or you know.
That's why we're laughing, isn't it?
And you know, the bands that, you know, those people, you know, they've been diehards since the beginning, but they were following a kind of machismo kind of thing. The music to them meant that. It meant, you know, superiority and, you know, masculinity and, you know, macho kind of like, right? So it did, but I've been so blessed to work with women that completely like exploded that. Angela Gossow does not scream well for a girl. She screamed well, period. Right? And she was gorgeous. She was gorgeous. And you couldn't fuck with her. Like she would not have it. Like she's kind of like a role model for a lot of us. But there's been many. There's Candace from oh my God, getting old. Oh, it'll come. It'll come. So I'm going way back, like Red Chord. And then this is like back in Sounds of the Underground Fest and Hellfest and like way back there. Sorry. Yeah. But you get like a band like Gore, right? Or a band, that's just like, I love that band and I think they're hilarious, right? But there's a kind of like, come here, bitch, suck my, like, there's that element of it, and that's disappearing. That's disappearing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
No, I mean, you've worked with like Arch Enemy as of recently, Spirit Box, like these more modern examples of it.
Infected
too,
Rain, who we had
Infected
on
Rain.
Yesterday. We spoke with Lena, and she was like, "You got to talk with Melissa, my coach." And we were like, "Guess what, girl?"
I just taught her yesterday. Yeah, I've been with her for about 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
love her so much. Talk about like hardworking woman.
That's one of the things we were talking about with her. But I think like deep down, one of the things I enjoy most about these partnerships between you and all of these different array of talents is the fact that, yes, you are their coach, but you also have these unbreakable friendships and this trust, because I'd imagine it's such a vulnerable position being that open with your voice and not being embarrassed and actually letting somebody critique and guide you through it. So does it feel pretty awesome knowing how much people actually trust you with their most precious asset and just seeing the just amazing friendships you've built over time?
If I thought about it, I would probably freak out. I try not to think about that too much because what a huge responsibility is that. That is such a big responsibility. So the way I've dealt with it is I started taking classical music lessons, because classical music was how I started when I was very young, but I've gone way away from that. And I wanted to be in a position where I had to trust a teacher to teach me. And because I wanted to be in that position, just to be able to like understand the responsibility, like to feel what that feels like, to surrender, like to do a passage and it not be right. And, not be afraid. It's like, that's wrong. I mean, my teacher yells at me all the time and it's painful, but I need that experience. I need that experience.
Even so the teacher stays a student. Yeah.
But I wanted to learn everything that there is about the voice. So I started taking voice lessons from my voice science teacher of voice science is complicated. Oh,
sounds
it's complicated. It's really, because it's acoustics, it's like physics, it's aerodynamics, it's, resonance, it's articulation, physiology. Like, there's just so much stuff that it's so complex. But he's also a very good voice teacher. So to put everything in context with the science and everything, just wonderful. I don't know why I was like yakking about that, but it's a big responsibility to be trusted.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so much to learn always. But at the same time, again, like I said, you've taught some of the most incredible women in metal right now. And I would love to understand too, because, going back to the vulnerability of being a student and the vulnerability of trying something new and how scary that can be. I feel like you said, there's a misconception about metal being a men's club and that, oh, men scream better than women, it's not possible to do it. But that's like just so not true. So I'd love to understand like what you would say to someone, like a girl who wants to learn how to scream but feels like they can't, or feels discouraged or scared to put themselves there. Yeah.
Just come to my class.
That's it.
That's the way.
That's the energy.
Because I will definitely tell you that it's not road rage. It's not heavy lifting. You just find a new definition of what it is that you want to do that doesn't have all those associations that were making it difficult. It wasn't the thing itself that's difficult. It's the association that people assume is in the package deal, right? Like effort, like having to be louder. That's effort. It's like, you don't want to be loud. Yes, it is loud to the audience, but loud is a perception. It's not an action. It's a perception. Like if I hear something, it sounds loud. That is what I feel it sounds like, but it's not a directive, a verb. Like I'm louding, because if I'm louding, I'm doing something over the top, which is exactly what gets you hurt.
Yeah.
What gets people hurt is the imbalance between the air pressure and the vocal fold action. So if the vocal folds are slammed shut and they're pressing, and you're like blowing hard, you're going to get hurt because you're, but if I go, yeah, I'm not going, I'm not doing that.
What you do is just so spiritual. Like at the end of the day, it all comes back to undo those stories in your head. Just get rid of them. And that is so huge in literally any aspect of life.
So true.
Exactly. And you can't get rid of them. You can only replace them. Because if you get rid of something, then you're acknowledging its existence by calling it out. Like if I say, stop pushing, right? Stop pushing acknowledges pushing. Like you have to in order to stop doing something, you have to acknowledge what it is to do it, which is not, but if you replace it with over the pencil instead of louder, right? Then that's a whole nother thing, because that's an image that I can work with. But be louder, that where's that button?
It's so funny. You're gonna just see like Tori and I with the pencils in between our mouths walking around our house.
You're gonna see me at Heart Support Festival, and I'm just gonna be like with a pen everywhere I go when I'm talking to people.
Oh, cool! I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see what.
Great.
I'm so happy for you too. Yeah.
Are you going to be there, Alicia?
Sadly, no. I would have loved a little powwow here, but no.
No. We'll get her up on FaceTime.
Yeah. Oh, please.
Are you in? I'm going to be one of the hosts on IG Live for them. I'm so excited. I've never been invited to do this. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm like the den mother, like my little babies. Yeah, I'm going to be doing IG. Like I'm going to be walking around talking to everybody on IG Live. So
fun.
I'm
Melissa,
so
you're an
excited.
Influencer. You're an influencer.
That's funny as shit. I don't even know how to click my notifications yet. So
well, you have a week to learn, and I know that you're gonna crush it.
Okay, good. Thanks. I wish you were coming with me.
Oh.
Something I think of is imagining you at these festivals and knowing all the people that at these places. I could only imagine all the big personalities you're surrounded by and all the out of this world experiences you've had, because I think Alicia and I, between our combined experience in interviewing, we've seen it enough amongst all these musicians. We're artists because we're eccentric. So I'd love to hear the craziest encounters you've had on the job. Are there a couple that really stick out to you?
Yes. There's several, but this is the one. The one that is my go-to, right? Is way back. I think it might have been 2005, 6. Yeah, actually, no, it was 2007. It was by the second DVD. So Randy from Lamb of God, he had a hobby. I think he still has this hobby where he collects. He's a collector, and he collects bullwhips. Right? Those are that thing that the circus master of ceremonies has, that and it goes that thing. They're bullwhips, right? And there's a technique to it. So he's like a collector of bullwhips. So he says, do you know where I could get bullwhips? And I was like, well, you can get anything in New York. But it came to my mind that you could go down on Christopher Street where the sex shops were, the basement sex shops, and they would have a bunch of bullwhips, right? So we went on a little field trip, me and Randy, down to the West Village. And we went into the store, and he found one. He said, "Oh, this one looks nice." He brings it up to the counter, and I go with him. And the girl behind the counter goes, "So is this for you or for her?" I said, "It's for both of us. I'm his mother."
I love you so much. Just so much.
And the girl goes, she was like mortified. Like, I actually embarrassed a sex store worker. Really? Like,
That must be a difficult feat. So congratulations.
Yes, I would be so proud of that moment if that was my move. That's great.
I just couldn't resist. Because being with Randy, it's kind of like that thing anyway, with like, I'm his mother, right? We're going to go home and practice.
So good.
It was great. It was funny.
I feel like
amazing.
that's something that instantly made both Tori and I just our jaws completely drop. And so I think going from one thing to another, I'd love to start our jaw-dropping segment, which is a reoccurring segment we have every single episode of the show. So of course, we're talking about a crazy experience you just had. So for the first one here, what would you say is the most jaw-dropping experience you ever had at a live show? It might actually be that show from '99, potentially. I don't know if we've already maybe covered it.
I want to tell you something funny. I was at a show in a club that was downstairs from where my teaching studio was. And I was looking at a band. It was kind of an industrial metal band. And I was like, their lawyer was standing next to me and I'm watching the band and I got to go to the bathroom. So I turn around to go to the bathroom and boom, this guy in a gas mask is stage diving right on top of me, right? Just like completely like nails me to the floor.
Oh.
I think I went out because when I woke up, this is what I heard. Lady, get up, lady. And the first thing I thought, it was like, lady? I don't think I belong.
I love that. Not what happened. Am I concussed? Where am I? It's lady.
No. Yeah, exactly. He called me lady, like mom, like, ooh. I was like, I'm so embarrassed. Lady, get up. Lady, get up. I'm sure there's other experiences, but that one kind of, I just felt like a little old lady at a mosh pit. Like, it was very sad.
It sounds like you took it like a champ, though. I will say I used to take my mom into the pits with me at some shows. And whenever crowd surfers would come over, she would just duck to the ground. Like, she would just go like this until I'm like, you have to help them. Like, you have to help them. She would just drop to the ground.
You've never told me that. That's amazing.
That's hilarious.
Like, you went down, but you went down with some pride. Like you
I went down with some pride.
Yeah. Remember that next time you think of that story, okay, Melissa?
I will. I should have gone down with, yeah, exactly. That's funny. That's funny. No, usually I stay far away from the mosh pit.
I do too. I mean, you know what? Occasionally I'll end up in a circle pit. I don't mind those, but if it gets too rowdy, I'm like, I'll stay on the side.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the next jaw-dropping question we have for you here is the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson that you learned from it.
Ooh, we're going deep in thought for this one. I can't wait.
Well, I made a terrible mistake. It wasn't a mistake. I was trying to explain to someone who was doing something, an interview for the Associated Press. Now, the Associated Press is not just one publication. The Associated Press, when you do an interview for AP, it ends up everywhere. Like, it goes on a feed, right? Someone's like taking that and to their own local paper and saying, okay, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that, right? So basically, I was trying to explain to people the difference between classic rock vocals and metal vocals. But they misprinted it, and I said that Robert Plant can't scream. And that is not what I said, right? It's not what I said.
No.
Not what I said. But the lesson I learned is don't mention names and talk about that, because if you get misquoted, I mean, I never heard from Robert Plant, thank God. But, I love Robert Plant. Like, I respect Led Zeppelin. My God, where would I be without Led Zeppelin in my life, right? So where would we all be without Led Zeppelin? So what was printed all across the world was I said something bad about Robert Plant. So I learned
That's a
don't talk about people.
that's a big one.
The gossip sites love that. They'll eat that up. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely a good lesson to learn.
Ooh. And for the next
Yes.
one, who would you say is the most jaw-dropping female artist that you would love to work with?
There's so
Like,
many.
who hasn't she worked with?
That's
You
the
know?
hard part,
Right?
right?
There's quite a few. There's quite a few. I've never worked with Tatiana from Ginger.
She's one of
I've
my
never
favorites.
worked. Yeah. But you know, she doesn't need it. She doesn't want it. So I don't want to be with somebody that doesn't need me.
Right.
But it's an interesting,
Fair.
it's an interesting voice. And I'm pretty, there's not enough women in this right now. And I understand why, because it's a hard job. It's a very hard job for anybody. It's hard. It's really hard to like give up your entire existence for any 5, 6, 7 years, you know, that's how long it takes to you know, well, you see, it used to be that if you knew somebody that you could get ahead faster. That's not exactly the case anymore, because it used to be like when I was like in an artist trying to be signed, that's a whole other story, right? Because I was, but it's a secret.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah. Woohoo.
I had a drug problem. I made it, but I had a terrible drug problem, so I ruined it. But let's see, what did you ask me? What was it? What was the question again? I'm
The
sorry.
female artist you'd love to work with.
Oh yes, I'd love to work with, right. So I think that there should be more females. However, putting together a project, a band, is 100% full-time. And usually you have to have a day job to survive while you're doing it. So it's like 24/7 working for a long time while you build up your fan base. Before, you didn't have to build up a fan base, because if you had the right lawyer, and that lawyer was, you know, in the boardroom of all the major labels, you could go there lickety split. Like, you didn't have to have a following so much.
Right.
Now it doesn't matter who you know, because the business is not set up to do favors. Nobody wants to do favors because favors lose money. But when you know somebody's got a fan base that they've worked hard to develop, it's loyal, it's solid, and it's a grassroots way to expand. But, you know, they used to be, you knew somebody and then those favors would either work out or not work out. And there'd be millions of wasted dollars on radio and everything else because someone did a favor. It's not like that anymore, because people have to have they have to get points. They have to actually develop a solid following, right? And that also takes even more work than finding someone to do you a favor.
It's
I
so
still
true.
get people. I still get people asking me, "Will you give my song to so and so?" Like, I have to explain it. It's not, the business is not set up for that anymore.
Mhm.
There's no budget line anywhere that says develop this. A label will take a band that's ready to go. It has to be escalated to a certain point, social media numbers and everything else, in order for anyone to have any interest in it, because nobody can afford to lose money anymore. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I wish there were more women.
Even just talking to Lena from Infected Rain last night, she was such a great example of putting in the work. And there's so many bands out there where it's like, these are not like industry plants. That's just not a thing. Everybody's paid their dues.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
true.
Yes, Lena is one of the hardest workers I have ever met. And she deserves everything. I mean, all the success. She works so hard with, like, being with fans and putting out, those beautiful calendars that she puts out every year. I don't know. Have you ever gotten a Lena calendar?
No, but we know what they're
I've seen
like.
them.
Exactly. They're so cool.
They're so beautiful. So beautiful. I have like 4 or 5 years of them. And
Oh,
I
I
keep
love
them.
that.
I just love them
Love that.
because they're like, she has a really good aesthetic,
Oh,
you
for
know,
sure.
it's just, and she puts everything into it. Everything that she does is with excellence, you know, always trying
Absolutely.
harder. That's a great life. That's a
It
great
is.
life. When you're working towards something that you love, that is what I'm so grateful for, is that I love my job. How lucky am I?
Yeah.
I'm so
And
lucky.
And I think like a lot of success comes when people can see that you love what you do and there's so much passion behind it, because it's like how we were talking about, audiences know. I mean, anyone knows when something is genuine, and that's the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
our final jaw-dropping for you, the most jaw-dropping misconception about you or what you do, could be depending on, that you wish people understood.
I always love the answer to these because I feel like this is the deepest. We always ended on like the very introspective question.
It's a very good question, because I don't want to sound like I'm like on a pity pot here. Um, I guess well, I don't know if there's anything see, I'm such an open book. Like, I don't hide anything from anybody. So it's hard for me to say, I wish everybody knew this, but I just want people to know that I am equal. Like, when people go, oh my God, you're Melissa Cross. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like, I feel like, no. Can we just like be friends? Like, do I have to be an icon? Can I just hang out? Like, I just want to be a regular person. I have fears, I have resentments, I have joy. I need help most of the time. I'm a basket case. I have anxiety, like, I just want everybody to like be equal. And I want everyone to know that I really thrive on interacting with other people. I don't like to be alone. And sometimes I'm lonely. And I think that can happen for women in the music business in a big way, because it's a little bit lonely, because you want to have like a meaningful relationship, and yet you're not sure whether there's some aspect of the notoriety that's making it more attractive to them or not. Like, I don't know if it feels like a little shifty, there's something. I just want to be one of the folks. And, being usually 30 years older than the folks is a big problem, because I am not a cougar by any means. I just wish that there was somebody that was kind of like around my age that wanted to hang out.
Yeah. I mean, I think in so many ways you've hit home with Alicia and I, because we feel that too. Like, you just never really know someone's intentions in the music industry, or who are your people, and it can be tough to really find your people. But hey,
really
you have friends
hard.
in us, if that's any solace.
Definitely. And I've always said, stick with the women, man, stick with the women. And I do, because I have no problem. I mean, when I was like a drug addict, I would only want to be with guys that had coke, right? or heroin or whatever I was, into at the time. And now I'm much more likely to be, going out for coffee with women rather than, sort of sizing up guys, but I still would like to, go on a date with somebody.
This is your moment, gentlemen who are listening.
Oh man,
I don't know if I should have said that.
I think you should have, because I feel like you're speaking my mind right now. Like, it's I feel you, Melissa. So anybody, you would love a fantastic woman who is passionate about life. We got you.
You are so lovable and you are so loved. And I
Such a
really feel
gem.
that having this conversation today. You are such a joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Truly.
So are you guys. I'm
Oh.
looking forward to like meeting up with you and at Heart Support.
Absolutely. It's going to be amazing.
Alicia, we're gonna get you on the share, like you come on live IG with me, okay?
I would love that. Please, that'd be phenomenal.
Cool. That'd be great. I
Aw,
think that
let's
Heart
go.
Support would love to hear from like Knotfest. That would be great.
Go team. I like
Let's
this
do
partnership. Well, Melissa,
great.
thank you so much. This has been truly an honor. You are so fabulous. Everybody watching.
So are
if
you guys.
Oh, thank you. If you want to
Yeah.
continue learning all of these amazing tips and tricks that we've learned today, Alicia's about to go scream her head off and join a metal band. And you could do it too. melissacross.com is the place to be.
Right. And I'm putting you guys, I have your email. You're going to get, as soon as the class goes up, you're going to get your Zoom, like you're going to get in the class. So enjoy
Amazing.
it. If you can't make
Thank
the
you.
class, the notification comes, there's one from Zoom, and then there will be one from melissacross.com that says, this is the link and the password to get the recordings of the classes.
Okay.
So you can take the
Amazing.
class at your own time.
I'm so
Oh, that's
excited.
so
You have
good.
no idea how it's been like, what, 2 decades I've been wanting to do something like that. Almost 2 decades to the day. Like, whoo, this is getting serious. So thank you.
What a gift it is to be able to gift that to you then.
Thank you. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
We've learned so much about you. So just thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Yeah.
your time, and I'll see you guys soon, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody watching, if you want to see us next week and the week after that and the week after that, you can subscribe and like this video. Subscribe on all streaming platforms if you're listening on audio. This has been Tori Kravitz on behalf of my host, Alicia Atout. See you next week on She's with the Band. Bye, y'all.